We're gonna
Are
do
we
it.
on Twitch
We're
yet?
gonna do it. Yeah, we're yes.
Sing a little
Yes, we
bit.
are.
Woo-hoo, sing a little bit about that funky sauce. Hey, brother.
Hey, brother. Ow. Can we
Welcome
start off?
back.
Welcome
Yeah.
back. I was just gonna say, can we start off by talking about Duke's line of Southern sauces that our mother is obsessed with?
Duke's, as in the company that makes Duke's mayonnaise.
Yes,
They
the
make
very one.
other condiments other than mayonnaise.
Yes, they
Wasn't
do.
aware.
They do. Well, I misheard you a second ago. I thought you were like comeback sauce. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, okay. That is one of our mother's favorite things on this planet. I don't know. You've obviously not had this discussion with her because she is
comeback
freaking
sauce.
obsessed about Duke's comeback sauce.
Really? No, I've definitely not
Yes.
had this conversation with her.
I
Okay,
know. I
that's
know.
weird. Now,
It
is this the
is.
kind that like where it's the commercial? It's like you gotta put that shit on everything. Sorry, Twitch. Put
Yeah,
that
I
shit on
think
everything.
I think that is indeed. Yeah, it's very possible that's one of them. Yeah.
That's Duke's makes that.
Wow.
You have this
No.
sauce in your fridge. I've seen it in your fridge. It's like Granny, go
Oh no no
get
no
him,
no.
Granny.
Oh no no no. That is a hot sauce. That is.
That's
Well,
a
that
oh. So
actually.
what's a comeback sauce?
So I think what it is a line of barbecue sauces, mayonnaise based. So there's the Alabama one. There's a Georgia.
Oh, wait a minute.
There's like
Mayo-based barbecue sauce?
yeah, that is a Alabama white
Ah,
sauce.
that's considered a barbecue sauce?
I think Alabama white is. We should shoot. We should
Listen,
slack the
you and
specialist.
I are North Kakalaki
Oh
boys,
yeah, but they also
and
have that. They have the cure.
I get down with mayo, just like the next good Southerner. I know plenty of Southerners who don't get down with mayo, but this guy
That's right.
does. I don't eat it
Idiots.
often because it's very high in fat content, but it is delicious. I'll fight you. Uh,
Don't fight me.
but when it comes to barbecue, there's two sauces in my
Yeah.
mind. There's a
Yeah.
vinegar-based red
Yeah.
tomato sauce, and then there
Mm.
is a mustard sauce. And then if you want something else, you can go whoop yourself. Am I right? Am I
Yes,
wrong?
you're right. Well, I mean, lots of people think you're wrong, but that's okay because I
I'm talking
agree.
about North Carolina style. Now there's Texas business and all of that
Uh,
stuff, but they also think the brisket is barbecue, and I never really understood that. No, I
the only
understand it.
time
I'm kidding.
you understand, the only time I ever heard comeback sauce was at the Georgia Theater in Athens, Georgia, where this vendor at 2 in the morning would sell hot dogs with comeback sauce, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty
Oh my god.
sure that would
Yes,
make
those are
it
amazing.
some kind of Georgian side
I don't remember those being mayo based though.
category. I could be dead wrong about the mayo base thing. All I know is that Duke's puts them out, and I know that Alabama white sauce is mayo based. That's all I know. So I could be dead wrong. So I'm sorry.
Okay, I have to Duke's. What are they called? Duke's. What are you calling them? I'm looking this up. Duke's sauces. This is gonna. I'm gonna get Duke's product in my Facebook feed now.
Yeah, yeah. No, please don't.
Duke's
Please don't.
mayo and barbecue sauces.
Hmm.
Shop Duke's. Gosh, we're giving a lot of airtime to Duke's. Oh God, bacon and
Yeah.
tomato sauce,
Oh.
habanero garlic,
Oh, these are
roasted
new
red
ones.
pepper,
Okay.
cucumber dill,
All right.
and then olive oil, mayonnaise. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course there's just classic mayo. And if you know, some people, of course, classic tartar sauce, whatever.
Yeah.
Carolina vinegar barbecue sauce, Southern
Okay.
sauces. And then yeah, Alabama white. I got that. A Georgia sweet heat. Mississippi comeback sauce. Here it is. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it looks like it's like a what do you call that? Thousand Island. Like it's a ketchup mayo mix,
I
right?
think it's a ketchup mayo mix. Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, I find a
Mom
ketchup
loves it.
mayo mix to be delightful.
Me too. I think that's
I
why.
don't oppose this,
I think
but
that's
I
why
wouldn't
Mom is
call it a
so
barbecue
excited.
sauce.
Okay,
Well,
I
Mom,
retract.
here's the thing, Mom. It's delicious.
Mm,
Just mind your portions.
be
Mayo is
mindful.
very high in fat contents. And I'm just saying, when you're looking at your macros, proteins,
Yes.
carbs, and fats, you want to have
Mm,
the right fuel mixture to do what you need to do during the day, right?
that's true. You would know.
Okay.
Um,
And
thank you.
that
Thank you.
concludes this video. That concludes this stream. I just showed how old I am by calling it a video. Hey
It's a
kids,
video. Put
watch
it
our
on the
video.
video. Put it on the computer video thing.
Yeah,
Um,
watching my VCR tapes. Welcome, nobody. There's
welcome.
currently no one here, but if you watch this in the future times, welcome back to another edition of what are we calling this? PairPods?
I think we're calling it PairPods.
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 This time with my brother Matt and myself, Evan. In this particular thread of PairPods, where there at least two of the three members of Evan's Brothers Creative pair on something.
Yes.
And recently, Matt and I have been pairing on an application that we've been building for D&D nerds such as ourselves.
Yes.
For D&D players specifically, not dungeon masters. There's enough apps for DMs and GMs out there. They're covered. So this is for you players, all you people out there who are like, man, I hate my note taking experience. It sucks. We got your back.
Yep.
Or at least we're in the process of getting your back. So last time we took a spin around what we've worked on so far, the UI and some of the ideas. It's called Campaign Companion. Working title, although we think that sounds kind of cool. Excuse me, I'm a little like stuffed up. I'm having an allergic reaction or something. We took a little look at the UI and we talked a little bit about some of the complicated note-taking, the journaling parts. And then, we came to this realizing that we were wanting to try to build a proof of concept in an already well-known, established Evan, use your words. Collaborative tool, note-taking tool called Notion. We're going to build a template in Notion where we're going to attempt to meet all the same requirements. And of course, it will look entirely different, but it will do what we needed to do. And that's going to be sweet. So take it away. Go do that and I'll watch.
Yeah. Okay, great. Love that Joker. Yes.
Let's talk about the Batman real quick.
Let's talk about the Batman. I've still not seen it. I still haven't gone to see a movie theater. But
oh yeah. Well, get Chris Slack our good friend Chris Slack to fly up there and
get him to.
He'll rent out a movie theater for you guys to go see it on private.
Okay.
Anyway,
this weekend.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. Now build that app. Let me roll up my sleeves while you do all the work.
I'm going to campaign. I'm going to also show this. So this is proofs of concept. These are conceptual ideas, designs, a good bit of little functionality and UX for sure that you've been working on.
You sharing something that I can't see?
I am. Right. 1 second. That's right. We always forget this. But bing, boom.
Show me. Don't leave me out in the cold.
One thing we have to work out, we'll figure it out, is I wish that Slack didn't put this green border around everything.
Well, they're slacking.
Shame. I don't know. Maybe you guys like it. Anyway, so we've got
bastards.
This is some of Evan's beautiful work, and this is kind of, the idea of it being a journal and a tracker, and very, very, based in the player experience. And so,
this is actually very close to my XD mock-up for this page.
Now,
maybe you went into the XD and did that. It's
I haven't
kind
either.
of not hard to visualize.
Right. Well, this is I've just sort of started, and since we recorded the last video, I've just just a couple of hours of just thinking on things and working on things, just ideas. Because so those of you, so Evan does not use Notion. I don't really use it all the time myself, though I do like it. But what I'm trying to do is explain to Evan that the difficulty in Notion is that it is too much, and that really what the beauty of Notion is that it is handed to a lead nerd that is attracted to what the app can do and what it does, and then to build something that teammates can understand, can utilize, can get in there with the UX. Mm-hmm. So that we will get to. I do believe that we'll get to at least part of that, though the thing that I actually really enjoy is that even in the work that I've done since we last met on this, I do definitely see, this is never going to completely fly with Evan, because this is somebody else's user experience. And if you're a hardcore Notion user, great. And it's not like you can't learn to do certain things that don't necessarily feel like out of the box, beautiful user experience. But in working with Notion, I do most definitely see the pain points where having a standalone app that you log into and it just holds your hand throughout the whole freaking thing. Notion does not do that. There's nothing about Notion that holds your hand. Not one freaking page.
The idea, correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea with Notion is that you can create the boundaries for yourself.
Yes.
And you're kind of required to, or you go out there and find a template that does that for you.
Right.
But even still, there are still parts of this interface and how it interacts with, you can't see me drawing, the main body content, where you have campaigns in here, and then your sidebar content and how that interacts and behaves. That will always be the same. That's always going to be part of Notion, no matter how you set the template up.
Yes.
So yes, I do. That is one of my bigger pain points with this particular app. But I'm not fussed about
of course
that.
You're not.
In building this particular proof of concept.
Yeah. No, I know, and you're very open to this, and I think the fun thing for me also is how close can we get? Because there are some brilliant freaking people out there that do try their darndest to turn this into a functioning website for their team or for anybody.
Really?
Honestly, as close as possible with navigation that gets you where you need to go and buttons and all these other things. I don't know that we'll need to do all of that, but it is kind of interesting to me to try to get as close as I can to that, because those are usually the best templates that you find, the ones that really take the care, that try to make the UX usable. So we're going to try to get there bit by bit. Here's something. Notion just had a massive update last night. So I'm not entirely sure what those are. I think it has something to do with this thing. Yeah, it does. So this is all new. This is all new. So I don't even know what. I don't actually know how to do some of this. So that's fine. We can learn that together. Do I just kind of delete this? Yeah, I don't need that view necessarily. Anyway, we'll figure it out. But apparently it's really nice. People are really excited about it. I did want to start off by showing you an example of a home-built template that is related to Dungeons and Dragons. This is built. This is built by the incomparable Mike Shea, Lazy Dungeon Master. Yeah, he is the man, and he's a great writer, super helpful Dungeon Master. He really is a cornerstone of this entire world. And this is his version of. It's not fancy. It's not beautiful. But it does.
Hey,
This is a
now
perfect example. What?
he's
Well,
gonna
I
watch
mean,
this and be
I'm
sad.
sorry, man. I'm sorry. No, I think I don't know. What I love about this is that it gets the job done, and that's what he personally uses this, and therefore it is a work in progress for him. And I think that's really where the best everything comes. The best websites, the best templates, the best best anything is
Hmm.
like can do you here's your need, here's your issue, here's your challenge, how can we fix it, how can you fix it, how, and then use it. But he updates this a good bit, and I think it's fantastic. It's like, but it is very game master based, not you
Right.
know
This
but you're
is
yeah,
for DMs, GMs, not for.
DM, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'll just kind of give you a couple of examples of kind of the nice things. What he says at the top is, I mean, he's written a blog. He's known by Sly Flourish. He has a really great blog and a video. But there's two main databases. There's a character database, and then there is a campaign database. And he separates those for very good reasons, because chances are, as a dungeon master, you're going to have multiple campaigns,
Right.
and what he's done is he doesn't just put like the idea of a campaign in there, like here's this world, here's this world. He lumps in all the NPCs, the items, the maps, which is fun, and these other like bits, and then it's all about filtering, like filtering them down to the parts that you want. And this is an example of how he does that. So that was a campaign database, but if you go to his villains page, you're only going to see the things that he's marked as villains, right? So that's a lot of power, and it made me think good, long, and hard about what we would want to have. And in the end, what I'm leaning towards is not doing it like this. Like on one level, to have a master campaign situation, like a master database that would have all the NPCs, would be cool. Again, if you're a game master, but if you are a player, I don't know whether there's any point in having that. And I just kind of wanted to see what your thoughts were before we got too deep down. Do you understand what I'm kind of asking? Like,
Not really.
okay,
So first of all, dumb question.
yeah,
This is his template. The intent to use this is to clone it, copy it, download it, whatever,
yeah,
and then you change out the content for your needs, your
yes,
campaigns, just something
right,
your home brewing.
right.
Okay. So
So
whatever is
let me,
in here is just kind of placeholder material.
yeah, I'll give you an example. If we go to the campaign database, and I click new, and what do we want to make? We want to make a
A centaur
horror
named Mr. Sparkles.
Mr. Sparkles, right? And so this is a super, super basic one. You can mark it as an NPC. You can add a bunch of things. You can probably pull up an image somewhere. Well, you know what I mean. We'll have to find an image somewhere. But yeah, you pull up images. You put, Mr. Sparkles does this and this and that. You can get as detailed as you want in here. And because I've tagged it as NPC and then leave, so there's Mr. Sparkles. But then if I go back to NPCs, Mr. Sparkles is going to show up here because it's filtered. Now, this is the NPC page, which is perfect for a navigation system, right? Like, you want to see all the NPCs? There you go. but it is one
Right.
database that controls that. So what I've kind of gone back and forth with, because you can go back, you can also create one called Mrs. Sparkles.
No.
Oh, no? There's too many sparkles.
No. No. No such
But
thing.
see, but the interesting thing here is that I can change this if I want to. I can change the tag, but Notion will allow you, because it knows I'm filtering here. It's going to automatically fill an NPC. So that's a nice little thing because it's still feeding into one big database that if I was a game master, I might want to see at a glance because I can pull data bing, 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 bing from anything through filters or other formula, really, to grab what I want to show on any block or any page that I want. You know, there's an enormous amount of power there. Mrs. Sparkles shows up there, and now if I go back to the master database, there she is there. Does that make sense so far?
I think so.
What is not as clear?
I mean, I'm looking at this for the first time, so
Of course.
I can't help but judge it from a UX just like
Yeah.
hierarchy. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I see the phrase campaign database, I feel, and this is like my number one thing with Notion, I feel immediately displaced when I'm trying to parse the content, and you guys can't see me writing on the screen, but the content types. So if
Mm-hmm.
it's like campaign is very high level, and the word campaign indicates something holistic, the structure of the thing that you're going to do. Um, maybe it's just semantics here, but when I see a map or a thing for maps or this place, Rose Point Manor, and then a NPC, and then a villain, and all this stuff, I don't really understand how this all. Uh,
Okay.
I automatically I want to put things into buckets. I want them to live in the bucket that I know where to go find them, and that this is a part of this that just makes me go, "What?"
All right.
On a page where I'm looking at everything.
That's really helpful. Let's do something that might help you. Let's just see if we can get it so that we're helping you here. So here is again the campaign database. Now, what I would then do as a dungeon master is I would go in. First off, I'd want to tag, I guess Rorik as an NPC, and I don't know what that's probably papacy. I don't really know what that is, but let's call that a location. What I would really want to do is I would want to then have I would want to have, what are you? Oh, they've changed it. Sorry. Oh, there it is. I was like, what? Where? What? I would want to do this. I would want to have a select, and I would want to say Barovia, and I'd want to say Anaka, and I'd want to say, Captain John's one shot, right? So I'm with you. I want to put these things into buckets too, and what he's done is he's just done the bare minimum for us. But let's go ahead and go down this list now and say, Mr. Sparkles is definitely Captain 1. These two are definitely in Captain 1 one shot. Rorik, I think, is in Annika. And we just kind of go through and we fill in where these are. Now, what I've done here with this property, and let's give it a better name. Let's call it World, right? Right? Maybe World?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess if you're world building and the NPCs live in that world regardless of the specific campaign you're working on.
I mean, we could say campaign, because if we say campaign here, and we want to even move this over to make it just the first thing that you see, I'm totally in agreement with you. Campaign database is difficult. I would honestly just call this master database, right? Because in my
That makes more
mind,
sense.
yeah, right. This is
Right.
again, we're
Campaign is specific to one world, one set of NPCs, one set of
yeah,
villains, one set of maps, one stuff, and you can have multiple campaigns within that world.
yes.
So yes, master. You just cleared it up for me by saying master database. This is just all your stuff. Now, again, why do you need to look at all your stuff in one list or one grid?
Oh, so that's exactly what that was my main question. So I'm glad that you're asking that the same, because your mind is in campaign companion, which is what we're trying to build. I am not really sure that campaign companion needs a master database. Now there are arguments that we could have for it, and I don't mean just a notion. I mean in the building of the website, like in having
Right.
a database where, let's say, a use case that I could possibly think of is you have a character called Willem. I have a character called Phalema. They are brother and sister. They are in two different campaigns. But someday we meet a dungeon master and we want to put them in the same campaign. So what do we do then? Do we have to rebuild the entire character? Maybe. I mean, you kind of do in D&D Beyond in some ways. Or do you give people an option to pull from a different campaign? I don't know what the answer to that is yet, but it is something that you kind of have to think of when you're thinking of database creation and management, right? Is there a use case where you would ever want to do that? Or when you say, give me a campaign right here, add new campaign, boom. Or you keep them separated, so you have, like, okay, so we're gonna call this Bog World, and then I hit new campaign. It's gonna fill up all kinds of stuff in here. Do I want to have a completely separate character database? Do I want to have a completely separate everything? And it may be. What are your thoughts on just that concept?
Well, let's look at this from the player's perspective, which is what campaign. That's, as of now, anyway. That's the
Yep.
intention behind campaign companion. For a DM, this is a super sick GIF that you got going though. By the way,
Thanks.
loving that. I don't know. We need to attribute that artist.
Yeah. Of course.
From a player's perspective, you're not responsible, nor is there any expectation for you to be involved in any world building, to know who the NPCs are at any given point, other than the ones that you meet. And it's up to you to judge of the ones that you do meet, whom are important and who aren't. So, for instance, if you're a Critical Role fan and you know about oh shoot, now I've forgotten his name. And you haven't seen campaign 1. The guy who owns the magic store in campaign 1. His name will come to me in a second.
Not Pumat Soul, but the flamboyant
Glorious Goods. Yeah.
Grindel. Grindel Shakes.
No, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Fine.
It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a very important NPC that you want to remember, because that's where you're going to go back and get some sweet magical goods, right? And you may encounter him again, or say, like, you're working on a mystery style campaign and there are people that, all of a sudden there's lots of names in play, and maybe that person had a clue and this person had a clue, and there's reasons to track all of that. As a player, you'd want to do that. But outside of those people, you're like you and I are right now. We know that there are people out in the world, but we don't know them all.
Yep.
Totally different for a DM who is, pretty much the god or goddess of their realm. And they do know, for the most part, or they make it up on the fly, who all is out there. So I think that's a key difference in requirement for one app versus another for this particular Notion template versus Campaign Companion is that in terms of databases, would you need to cross-reference? Say that you were playing multiple campaigns, and say you were doing it with the same character, but it's up to the player and the character. Like, is it in the same timeline? Is it in a different universe? You can't necessarily
Different level.
import another, like, different level. Have you met this NPC yet? Or maybe it's would there be a use case for that? I mean, probably there's some like edge case stuff where you would want to import your stuff from one campaign to another. And I guess we should take it out of the realm of NPCs. Certainly with inventory, with items, way more probably need for that. So, I mean, it's all a little high level, but my overall here is, my take is, players don't need this level of database management. They need to manage their stuff, their goals, the people they meet that are important, their magical items, and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, that was really well said. I totally agree. You did touch on something that I had not thought of, which is really why I'm glad I have this conversation. Shared weapons, shared items, etc. Items. I know it is high level, but that is the tricky thing about database management, database creation, is it's like, and you know this from having people like Randy and Woody as bosses, and we spent so much energy on the database at the beginning because it is a little bit harder to backtrack when you after you get to a certain point, and it isn't necessarily some cases, I'm not saying every case, but it is super helpful if you can. I mean, that's why I remember Randy.
Give an example of something that could be a gotcha if you get too far down the road and haven't accounted for something.
Sure. Well, so there would be more complexity to build a master database of everything. In some ways, there would be more complexity on the onset. But if you don't do that, and then on down the line, you have a clamoring from users as to, I really want to reuse this character in this campaign. I want to take this character. I want it to be effortlessly sent over to this one. That's not necessarily going to be an easy thing to do. There's data that would have to be moved. There's new connections, reconnections that would have to happen. Filters would have to be rewritten, sorting, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that's the best example.
For example, that's interesting. So in this case, say that I'm in Campaign Companion and I'm using that in conjunction with D&D Beyond. Our preferred digital character platform. You hear us, D&D Beyond? We're talking about you. You're awesome. So you're using Campaign Companion. You're tracking your journal, your stuff, all that, and you're starting a new campaign, but you want to use the same character. So couldn't you just back out of the interface that you showed people a minute ago to what would look like something like this Campaign Companion, right? Where this would be your dashboard. This would be the page where you choose which campaign you're either creating or about to enter. Mm-hmm. And you just copy that campaign and rename it and delete what you don't want, and keep what you do want. Similarly to D&D Beyond, where like you have a character, you want to play that character, but it's in a different game and it's a different timeline, so it's a different level up. So you copy it, clone it, rename it, make adjustments. It has nothing to do with your other character sheet.
Right. Exactly. Like, I think
But it's
really
not part of a master database. Like there's those
no.
two character sheets aren't sharing anything.
Right. Absolutely. They're not synced in any way. But so my example is more, I want this character to be in these two worlds synced at the same time. I don't want to have to take care of two characters. Again, it's not the best example because D&D Beyond sets the precedent for no, that doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. There's not that many people that want that feature, and therefore it's not going to exist. But if people really lost their minds about wanting to have that feature, they would have a lot of work in store for them. Because they would have to, I'm guessing, I don't know what the database structure of D&D Beyond is, but I'm assuming that it would not necessarily be easy to have synced characters across multiple campaigns the way that it is set up now.
I mean, it's a super weird use case because how would you?
What's a better one?
It's
I mean, you could. So here's one thing that's been really immediately great about this talk just today. I did not think about this shared weapons, items, and so on and so forth. Now, sure, there's going to be, Jack's dagger of whistling, if I could spell it, ling. Right, that Jack
whistles
that somebody invents. It's totally homebrewed. It's only in this campaign. Like Jack is an NPC that is only in this world. There's no possibility of it going anywhere else. But for sure there's a longsword +1. Longsword +1 would be amazing to be able to just say, search for longsword. Longsword +1 because you've already created it, right?
Like the D&D Beyond database, right? Like
exactly.
You start typing it and it just shows you. You start typing longsword and it shows you a list of options.
Yep,
absolutely. And that's a feature I would love to have. Let's go back to the idea of sharing this stuff, though.
I'm sorry. Real quick before you say that, well, maybe we're about to say the same thing. A much better example of characters is NPCs, right? Because you just mentioned a perfect example, if we could remember his name, Gilmore. Gilmore is in multiple, if not every campaign. I think he's shown up in every single campaign so far. So maybe not this one yet, not 3. That is a perfect example. Like that would be something you might want to just pull in. Like if he existed there, you could pull him in here or there or this other campaign, right? There is more of a use case in that example. But I could also see the opposite. I could see, no. That's Gilmore level 12 in campaign 2. That's young Gilmore, and this is one that's only 200 years old, and he is in Exandria. So I don't know where to go there.
And there's the chance that you might be in a different campaign in the same world. You're in Exandria, but your character doesn't know anything about Gilmore. He's never met Gilmore.
Totally. Exactly. So would you want to create him from scratch? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Go back to sharing.
So just to clarify what we're talking about when we mean sharing, there's the idea within Campaign Companion, within a campaign in Campaign Companion, when you are tracking your inventory, your items, your NPCs, that those are shared with other players that have permission to co-edit or have permission to view everything that you're doing. So there's that kind of sharing in campaign sharing. But what you're talking about is sharing from one campaign to another campaign that you, the user, have created a new campaign, and you want to say, "Oh, well, I've got all this stuff." Now, I do think, kind of a must-have feature, more than a nice-to-have feature, would be the D&D Beyond style. These are just the Dungeons and Dragons 5e stuff that you can get.
The SRD,
longsword
yeah.
+1.
Mm-hmm.
The SRD. Thank you. I do think this is so. Yes, because being able to quickly add that stuff and not have to do it custom in every single campaign that you have would definitely be ideal. And furthermore, I mean, our intent here is to have this sync with. Ultimately, we don't know how this is going to happen yet, but for this to sync with your D&D Beyond character sheet, if you use D&D Beyond, so that you can do your inventory and then send that not just to your character sheet, but your other party members as well. So, like, say that you've assigned this longsword +1 to Gaffer McDuggard, your bard, and you can go hit the button and it will go to their character sheet. Now, I haven't built that feature yet because we don't know when and if that will be part of the API and SRD, and
right. Totally.
But yes, this is the part of the interface where that would happen. You can actually on this, you can assign it there, and I guess that's actually maybe that's all you would need to do. You would assign that to player 3, and then as soon as you do that, bonk, maybe it would be able to just auto go out to that person's. I don't know, whatever. We'll cross that bridge in a long, long time from now. But what was the point of all that? The point was...
the point is that we agree that for many, 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 many reasons, the SRD is going into this thing. Because it is free. There are beautiful people who have converted the SRD to JSON and Markdown and HTML and all these incredible things. Those people need so much love. But so that is data that should just live, that immediately go into every database in here, in Notion, because it's free and it's part of the game, and you don't want to have to say, write out, we met a goblin, and want to link a goblin. Oh, there's no link to a goblin. Like, I have to create a goblin, that's not fun for anyone. You know, you want to have some things that you can count on that would exist. You know,
now for players,
database.
You may not need to. Like, you don't even really want to see a goblin's stats, right? You don't need that, and you may not want that. So we do have to kind of keep looking from the perspective of what players, what they need, what they want, what they should and shouldn't have. If anyone can say that, I suppose, with objectivity entirely, but there's lots of different flavors. So, but I do think this idea of NPCs and having a database of stuff, particularly with worlds that are, you know, like Critical Role, like Exandria, it's hugely popular. People want to go into that world. They want to meet Gilmore, right? And if you're a GM, you want to be Gilmore. And that's super fun. And you like being able to pull that up, whether you're a GM. What do you need to know about Gilmore as a player, though? Or what would you? And I guess that's part of Campaign Companion, is that for the NPC that you meet, you really only know what the GM tells you. So if they say Gilmore is a man who appears to be in his 40s, he is dressed flamboyantly, blah 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 blah. He's described the way that he's described, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm using Gilmore's correct pronouns. Apologies if I'm
That's true.
Gilmore. If you're out there, let me know. Um,
Call,
so
call us up.
that's part of for me. One of the when I started kind of dreaming up campaign companion, and particularly the NPC tracker component, it was a way to organize to be able to find them quickly. I didn't expect to actually have a lot of data on them, only what I was told, and a place to put special notes about them, which doesn't happen very often, at least for me in game. But if there's something where I can say, okay, this I met this old lady at the church in Barovia, and her son is named that name, and she wants this. Now I can go into a list of NPCs. I can find them and more quickly, where instead of just scrolling through my endless text edit of notes and trying to make sense of what they, anything specific. But I wouldn't have stats. The DM,
Mm-hmm.
unless the
Sure.
GM gave them to you, but why would they?
Why would they? No, I'm with you, but you once again touched on something that I think would be important, a related to column. Like, I mean, again, you're going to want this to be to make the process of putting together and notes and ideas and
Mhm.
connections as easy as possible. So you probably are going
Right.
to want to be able to have a related to this, related to him, her, them, so on and so forth, for
Mhm.
ease. Um,
Is this related to? Is that a specific like what would that? How would you make that link connection in Notion?
yeah. So, I was just kind of taking a couple of notes on the NPC database is the way I would see it. So now I think we're thinking possibly this could be a master one. This could be a global master database. And so what I would do, what is this? All right, so this is kind of something something I was starting as far as players. I was also thinking about players and then related to their characters and so on and so forth. But this is a perfect example because if I create a character database, I can then relate the character database to the player database. I can connect them. And what will happen is it's an automatic connection back and forth. So this is not the most fun view, but like because but tables are the easiest view to start with. But you have multiple different views: board, timeline, calendar, however you want to view this information else in another way. But what this does mean is I know that Evan Bivens is related to Willem Dustborn, and if I click on Willem Dustborn, I've got Willem's information. And so that kind of thing is the way I would handle related to. So I would have Gilmore. No, sorry. I would say the woman in St. Andrew's Church, and then I would say the woman's son, whatever his name is. And then you could say related to, and it would pull up a list of the same database, right? The database that you're in. Therefore, you could pull in characters that they're related to. And how that could be useful is, I mean, depends on the view, but like if I have a list or probably a gallery, you can put anything in this gallery view. I could list the related to characters. Wow, they really changed all of it. See? So I could access Willem from your just click on this, or I could click on Willem from here too. So there's tons of options in there, but that's how it actually works is you create a new column and you say, look at this database and give me all of the options there. And then that becomes something that you can relate. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yep.
that's how that would work. That's how I would see it would work. And then you would just make sure that you could have multiple ones, like all of them. I don't know, however many you want, as like the web grows of connections and stuff. Um,
Right. I mean, the player is not necessarily going to. Oh, that actually, this is an interesting point because we haven't really gotten to this phase of app development yet. But
no.
the the onboarding process, you download the app, or rather, you log in to the web app, and you start a campaign,
Sorry.
and um, you have players, and you invite those players. There's a lot of thought that still needs to be put into that. So
Mm-hmm.
say, for example, like our group, we have a few different campaigns going, but it's really the same group of people playing different characters on different
Mm-hmm.
nights. Whereas there's also AK and Fitz who play with tabletop games every Thursday, so they're playing with a whole other group of people. But for our group of 4 or 5 people, um, you could have a player data. You would want to store information like this.
Mm-hmm.
So say that your first time out, there's no stored information because you haven't done anything yet. But you say you invite Evan, you invite Allison, you invite Fitz and Matt, and then they all accept, and then now they can all collaborate on your campaign. But they don't have access to your other campaigns, just that
Right.
one. But then
Mm-hmm.
say you start a new campaign and you want to invite people, then you need the option of inviting brand new people, or do you want to invite people from your previous list? So
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't necessarily see this view. And again, you can't see me circling this player
Right.
database view
Yeah, you're
anywhere
circling
in
this.
Campaign Companion, but you would want to make sure they had access to that database so that when the option arose, they could invite the
Yes.
same people from another campaign without
So
having to email them.
I think again we've stumbled into a cool talking point because this is just something that I built just to kind of help me understand. I was thinking about that process that you just described, like what would happen when you log in, and upon building this, and I'm only showing this to you right now because I wanted you to see how relations work in columns and in Notion specifically. But the second that I built this, I was like, no, that's actually not. That's actually the wrong thing. There won't be this because what we really need in Notion specifically, and then of course in Campaign Companion, is going to be Notion's concept of settings and members, right? So really, we're not talking about a database. In order to have that functionality and that power that you're talking about, we're actually not talking about a player database that's built in Notion. We're actually talking about members, and then you're able to connect characters to members, and you can email members, and you actually have all of that functionality from within Notion. So this was, just sort of an experiment, but I think that's exactly how Notion's members will work, and I think that's probably what we would want to do, if in our campaign, if we were to use Notion. But your walkthrough only solidified that concept for me. It's like there would be nobody who would have access to all of this,
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Right.
There would be no one player to do that. Yeah, and that's what members really would be. Okay.
Right. And we've discussed different potentially levels of membership, free
Mm-hmm.
membership, paid membership, and then, you get certain features. Who is the account owner versus who is someone who's been invited to participate in that campaign.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to that.
Yeah.
So first of all, shout out to AK and Fitz who are sliding into our DMs right about now.
Thank you. Yeah.
Fitz, are we thinking of using Notion to be the powerhouse of Campaign Companion? No, we're not. We're using it as a proof of concept, just to kind of shake out all of these ideas
Mm-hmm.
on since it does a lot of this stuff already. Um, that's where we're going with this. Kind of part of the building the proof of concept.
Yeah.
Concept.
Yeah, it's very helpful for
Hey,
me.
this
And yeah.
Rocket Sauce says this is the best stream. Thanks, Rocket Sauce. That's very generous. Rocket Sauce, let's go back to the top of the show and please answer your opinion. Duke's sauces of the Duke's as of Duke's Mayo. They make different kinds of sauce. You're into it. Okay, cool. You're into all kinds of sauces. Great. Do you have a favorite? Matt likes the comeback sauce.
Comeback sauce is pretty.
I haven't
good.
had that particular comeback sauce. So
they're all a
but I
little
do
too
like
sweet
Duke's
for
Mayo.
me.
I'm not afraid.
Yeah,
I'm a grown
they're all
man
a little...
who likes mayonnaise, and I like mayonnaise on my French fries.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, so brother, let's stop talking and start doing.
Yeah.
Do something
right.
cool. Build something.
Let's do something. Yeah, we've been talking for an hour. However, these are all things that I needed to ask you, and so I don't think 1 second has been wasted today, because again, it's
maybe one.
Okay. 1 second. That's fine. Whatever.
I'm not
ashamed.
You have done a lot since last we stripped.
Yeah.
So Rocket Sauce wants to know if we have any proprietary sauces, and that is, we wish we could share that with you. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait and find out. We'll let you know. Ding. Ew. Okay. Yeah. No more talking. Let's get to rocking.
No, I mean,
what do you want? First of all, why don't you do a show and tell of everything that you have built?
Sure. Yeah.
Since we last streamed it, and then and then let's do something else.
Yeah, sure. There is.
How long do you want to go for? P.S.
Let's just go for a few more minutes. Let's go for maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, kind of thing. I don't think we need to go. I mean, because I feel like there's so many answers that we got today. That is important. I think it's important for you also to know, to think about databases too in this way. And it's super helpful for me. So. I am trying I'm trying to just kind of take what you have, and this, from the XD and from this Webflow, and try to bring it to life databatically. That's not a word. So
what was that word?
Nothing. I didn't say anything. But yeah, to kind of provide that functionality.
Pterodactyly?
Databatically. Bactine. So one thing that we could add on every page is a nice little pretty GIF or cover or video or whatever we want. That's going to be fun. And then this is what I see is not a dashboard. This is your welcome page. You can't show it in this either, I don't think. But there's a welcome page. Oh, there is.
So this is you'll have a campaigns page where you can manage create, copy campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
The scheduler we just won't even get into, and then of course your manager account stuff.
Yeah,
that's about as many environments within the app that you'll need as far as we know at this point.
Right. So
marketing page, the entry point, and all that stuff. That's different.
Yeah. So in Notion, I would take everybody to a similar idea. You're going to have a welcome page. Take your campaign, either an existing one or a new one. And then what I've done is I've started working on the template to build a new campaign. So in Notion, you can either just click new, give it a title, and then go to town. But you would probably, for the most part, be repeating yourself over and over and over. That's why they give you the ability. Where did they hide delete now? They give you the ability to click on a new campaign, which you can then populate with stuff like a header image, and it takes you right to this. And you can choose the players that you're playing with. Again, I would be changing this to members, but you have all manner of data to fill out. And then I've kind of started like a little list. So every single time I click that button, it's going to spit out this data for me. And I think we decided today that characters will be a new database for every single campaign. I think that feels good and clear and solid. You can see that's where I stopped. But in this, so right now I'm just going to open this as a page, just for an example. This character database won't be populated with Willem and Chimerical, right? This will be a blank one that you will add characters into, and so it's got parameters. So you have first name and last name, and that will automatically create the name, which you would then organize it with. You put the D&D Beyond link in. I've got the minimum stats right here, and then it connects to a player, which one more time will probably be connected to a member instead, right? So that you can have.
Well, I would say players wouldn't need, and this is a little too granular, but players don't need stats, I think, of any kind. I don't want to know other players' stats personally. I don't need to know what their AC is unless they explicitly told me. But this is very GM info that you would certainly bare minimum need to know about your players. What I see as important is number one, particularly if people are collaborating. So yeah, this is your onboarding template to create a new campaign. Yes, you get your header, you get to name it, and then you can invite the other players. There's probably a use case where you'll invite the player. You'll know the player's name, but you won't know their character's name. Right?
Yeah, that's
potentially.
True.
Or say that there's a player invited and their character dies and they're going to come back with a new one.
Right.
So you need to know more than the character name. You need to know player name, player email, and in order to invite them to collaborate. Now, not that you can't use this tool. You don't have to collaborate. You could just use it the way that people use any other kind of note-taking tool. Say that you're the only person who gives a rat's ass about note-taking and no one else collaborates on it and you're in control of everything. That's fine too. But that's another good thing to identify, that if you don't invite people, other humans, to collaborate, you still need a way to track characters. And if part of the inventory is being able to assign items to a player, whether it's a person is connected to that player or not, you still have to be able to do that.
Right.
Did I make that make sense?
I think so.
My brain's working faster than my mouth.
The way that I see it also is this gets filled out by people joining it, right? It's not that whoever originally clicks on new campaign has to at least put your character in, right? And then, like you said, you're inviting other members. So they come in, and then they will have probably a similar thing, like add your character, right? And in Notion, what I'm imagining is going to happen is this is going to be like Darklands. This is going to be something that is the dashboard. But if you're new, even in Notion, we can make some very pretty, like what, onboarding, really. You could say hi, and you can have like a graphic that says number 1, do this, number 2, do that. We could probably pull that off in
like
Notion.
Typeform style.
Yeah,
sort of.
Maybe. Yeah, sort of ish. I didn't think about that. That's not a bad idea.
That concept is actually in the Adobe XD
right
document. where like kind of the first time onboarding, which is a little bit separate than any onboarding, right? Like there's your very first time logging in and creating a campaign is going to look different than creating your second campaign potentially.
Sure.
But
Right.
because you won't have any of the accounts stuff to
Right.
at the very least to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, you kind of go. This gets populated as people join, and so this can be something that is, like you said, somewhat locked down. I can remove these things, and I can hide and view. Yeah, I can just remove these things if they're not important, and they just kind of happen. But like we've decided that this is going to be something that will be specific to this campaign, and so it's specifically like its own separate database. I would also see a calendar. I haven't gotten that far, but I would see a calendar of maybe meetings. Maybe that's important, maybe not. But then it almost immediately gets into here's your journal, and then here's your item database, right? Like here's your gear, here's your your consumables, your weapons, your so on and so forth. And one I think we discovered this time, having it be a global database to Notion itself would be helpful, because we can put the entire SRD in, and then it's just a matter of you start typing and it will come to you, right?
Okay, back up a couple of steps. Number one, are you talking about the Notion version of this, or you're talking about
Yes.
our aspirational campaign companion version of this? You're talking about specifically this proof of concept in Notion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a dashboard that you're getting to. I think you have it in the XD. Like there's a dashboard and it says, where do you want to go first? Like maybe.
Yeah. I just didn't. You said a couple of things. I wasn't entirely sure if you were referencing one version over another. So head back over to Notion. Yeah. So let's see. So. Something else you mentioned. Cover image. Description of world. Yeah. If a player would have that, maybe the DM would supply that to you. Invite player, name, email, and then D&D Beyond link if they had one. It would be lovely to import their avatar from D&D Beyond. Let's see. Data daddies is what Rocket Sauce says. Fit says it'd be nice if DDB could import some of those things like armor class, hit points, etc. But those are so changeable that if you have to manually enter it, it for sure get forgotten, outdated. Interesting. So Fitz is saying that you're saying that you would actually want to know AC hit points for other player characters or NPCs. That's interesting. That's good to have that perspective, because as a player myself, I don't think about those things. So okay, so maybe let's just say player data question mark.
Yeah, I'm gonna say share data with.
That's interesting.
You can do that in D&D Beyond. You can say keep this private, and I don't actually know what you see when you do that. Unfortunately, you have to actually turn that on. You have to make things public in order to use the API, which is so I don't know how much you could hide or not, but you could certainly ask, do I want to, is this a campaign where we're sharing data like that, HPAC, things like that, or not? I mean, I definitely think image is good no matter what. I mean, image is there. But I mean, well, in Roll20, when we play with Tay, everyone adds that data to.
Right.
So using that would be nice, and you would be able to. Was that a cat? uh,
Oh yeah.
Using that would be nice because then you could then pull that information very easily. Like in Roll20, we have to add it every single time we play. We wouldn't have to do that in even in Notion, but definitely not in the other one. Like I could see a little heads up display that has all the characters logged in with that information, just like in Roll20. But at a glance, you've got stuff. Is it useful? I don't know. You're right.
Right. Well, it's good to know. I mean, there's an interesting use case Fitz was saying where um, you could, if you're really the manager of stuff, if you're the account owner and you can see at a glance who's the squishiest in your party, who's got the the lowest AC, and they need something with some, and you've got this long list of stuff, then you can like scroll through. Although the idea is that hopefully your good friend is also a collaborator on this, your squishy party member, and that they can go in there and assign that to themselves. You don't have to be able to do it yourself, do it for them rather. But anyway, that's interesting. We'll keep that in there. Let's see. Invite the player. Yep. Name, email, D&D Beyond link. Import or add image. Great. Character database. Right. And so this is what we just uncovered, which is in case you have no intention to collaborate with others, or you don't have any friends who want to collaborate with you, then you need to still be able to make a list, or just say that all of your other party members are Luddites and they're not going to do that, but you're still tasked with being the party treasurer and note taker. So you still need to be able to make that list that's not connected to another account or user. Journal database. Yep. To-do list. Yeah, that's something that we haven't. Although we actually did talk about this a little bit.
We
it's
talked
not
about
a to-do
it.
list. We can go into that in a little while, but so the other databases that we were talking about earlier, what you could might want to potentially share between your own campaigns, NPCs, inventory items, stuff like that. And then the calendar, you mentioned this a while ago. This is something we haven't mentioned yet at all, which would be the other pain point of playing D&D. Number one, note taking. Number two, being scheduling. And maybe the scheduling is actually number one, but that's another feature we plan to try to integrate. Now, okay, sorry. I process things by saying them out loud.
That's fine. What happens when you're quiet? What happens when you're quiet? What does that mean?
When I'm quiet, it means I'm reading the super sweet comments in our comment gallery. And then it says, great way to shame your other party members into taking notes. That's right.
Notes. Ooh, yeah.
So, okay. Well, we've already gone beyond time-wise what you had suggested. We didn't necessarily get to building something specific today. We did a lot of talking and planning. Maybe next time we'll come with a little bit more direction on exactly what we're going to talk about, and then what we're going to attempt to build, if anything. This was a little more free wheeling. So if you've made it this far, thank you.
Yes.
If I've what did our dad used to say? If I've offended you, I thank you. God, a nickel for every time I heard that.
If I offended you,
Matt and I and our good friend Allison, our Bivens Brothers Creative, we build things. We build websites. Please visit us at bivensbrothers.com if you need a website, or if you want to chat about things D&D or otherwise. You can always go to our Twitter. I think the Twitter /Bivens Bros. Is that what it is?
I think it is. Bivens
Facebook,
Bros.
YouTube. You can find us everywhere. We'll put links all about. Come say hello, and if you have ideas about your particular painful note-taking experiences in D&D, we would love to hear about it. Yeah, brother. I hope this was fun for you, listening to me talk to myself.
No. Look. I think PairPods in general is going to be us. It's about our team publicly learning. So yes, there will be times. There will be times. I mean, here's the other thing. Notion truly did just change everything last night. So there's a lot. It would be there would be me stumbling around too, trying to figure out where they moved stuff. There will be episodes of these where we're just building Notion, not talking too much, because there's plenty to do. But this was a very crucial talk that we needed to have to figure what's global, what's not, what is, so that I now know when when you click on new campaign, what is going to be ready for you, what you're going to do, and so on. So I had a lot of fun. I think I get excited talking about it. I get excited thinking about it. And this was very helpful. So I'll learn a little bit more about Notion's new stuff. And we'll just meet again and continue the conversation.
Rocket Sauce, just to take us out, says they're ready for the hot tub stream.
Nice.
And I will yes and that and say, you got it. We'll do it. Matt and I will both install hot tubs in our offices.
Oh,
but
sure.
instead of water, it's comeback sauce. What do you think?
Duke's comeback sauce.
Watch that.
Only available in 4 states, so I guess that means that we're all going to have to move to the states that
it's only legal to watch that in 4 states, is what you're saying.
That too. It's only legal in 2 states, but it's legal to buy comeback in only 4. No, Mom did all the research. You can't buy it here, so we'll have to find states that we can.
It's actually not legal in every state?
Not legal. It's just not available. Like Kroger bought Mariano's here, so that's why we can get Dukes, but we can't get comebacks.
His Benzies tastes like burning. All right, brother. Good work.
All right, brother. Good work.
Let's circle up after this, and I feel like I've got we've identified some action items for me to work on for the UI from this. So let's circle up and mark those. And you guys, it's actually really fun. I know that you're bored as hell sitting here in the chat, but man, it's been fun to have you there. So come back next time and bring a friend. Bring some hard liquor and some comeback sauce.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, brother.
Yes, brother.
May all your rolls be 20.
May all your rolls be 20, 21. Until next time. No.